And we're live. Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. This is really cool. Um, well, welcome everybody. Um, I started you all on mute, but feel free to chime in, comment. Um, this is this is this is really cool. It's getting a little bit more official, as I polish up my my presentations and uh, and as I get my blog going and get my content updated and kind of open things up to the world. Obviously, there's not too many people in here today because I haven't really done too much promotion, but we're getting there, and I appreciate all you guys' support here. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces. Well, I'm seeing a lot of familiar names, um, and I'm glad to see that you guys are back. As far as chat and things like that, I'll try to kind of keep an eye on it. I am still kind of getting acquainted with running a Zoom meeting and presenting and chat and things like that. As a matter of fact, I don't know if maybe I've turned chat off, or let me see. Oh, here we go. Okay, cool. I found it. we're getting there, guys. Bear with me while I'm kind of catching up here. So I see Cody Carling and Dimitri. Well, welcome everybody. So a little bit about me. So I'm a lead estet at 3PL Central. 3PL stands for third-party logistics. So we make third-party logistics software. You can Google that if you're interested in that world. But it's an application for managing warehouses. Right now, I'm using Cypress to build an end-to-end platform, kind of from the ground up, and leading a crew of engineers, and they're really great. They have various backgrounds with regards to development and QA, and it's been really fun. I started there earlier this year. It's been a crazy year, and but it's been a really fun ride. And in that time, I've continued to learn a lot about Cypress, despite being in it for a while, and I'm looking forward to kind of sharing that with you and learning together. So a few things about me as far as like from a like a philosophical standpoint, I guess. I prefer to specialize. I don't believe too much in trying a lot of different, or rather specializing in a lot of different languages. I'm super interested in Python, for example, but I've kind of committed myself to saying, okay, I'm just going to dedicate myself to JavaScript and variants of that, TypeScript when necessary. That way I don't kind of spread myself thin. So I'm kind of a master of that craft. Well, not a master, but I'm working on mastering that craft. I can be kind of opinionated, but at the same time I have kind of a no judgment policy, because I understand that everybody has their own kind of way of doing things and different business needs and so forth. And so, if you have to cater to that, then obviously you won't do everything the same way. And no judgment coming from me, and no judgment coming from anybody else that's participating. That's my policy. And then I have kind of a ship good enough philosophy. I believe strongly in in obviously quality, but making sure that we actually ship a product, because there's no point in making a product perfect and not shipping it, right? There's no value in a product that's never shipped, despite how perfect and bug-free it might be. I'm active in the JavaScript community, and especially here locally in Utah, on the QA Utah Slack and Utah JS Slack. And I'm really looking forward to the conferences, to actually hopefully someday going to a conference live, in person, and getting back into that setting. I really miss it, and can't wait to start seeing you guys in the community face to face. Let's see. So yeah, enough about me. I want to know about you guys. What share in the chat here, if you feel comfortable, even in Slack. Tell us who you are, and where you're working. If you want to share kind of things that you're wanting to learn, or you're doing with Cypress, or even things that are not Cypress, maybe things that you're passionate about, or looking forward to learning about. And I think that despite not being together in a classroom, like we were, for those of you that were in the last workshop, we were at Bottega, and we were in the same room, and I think there was a lot more collaboration and camaraderie, and obviously a lot more connections going on. But I want to try to make the best of this, the remote workshops. So we'll try that and see, and maybe we can come up with some other ideas. Let's see. So on the agenda for today, now, first of all, as far as timing, this started out as kind of a 2-hour thing. It was going to be from 7 to 9. Then I changed it to be 7 to 8. I think it's going to be somewhere in between. So for those of you that may have committed one time or the other, I apologize for that. I'm still kind of trying to understand, or trying to figure that out as far as how long I want to go. I want to try to be respectful of your guys' time, and try to but also try to give you a good amount of quality content and hands-on. So bear with me while I figure out that. So agenda, we'll talk a little bit about testing from a really high level: who, what, when, where, why, and how. Cypress pros and cons, features of Cypress. I'll do a bit of a demo, and we'll take a quick break. Any kind of questions that you guys have, you can use the chat, or even through audio if you want, and I'll answer those questions. And then we'll get hands-on. We'll get our own environments kind of set up. I'm going to walk you guys through it, and then I'm going to give you a take-home challenge. So the take-home challenge is essentially something that is an opportunity for you to try to learn on your own as well. And I talk more about it on my blog. I'll give you guys some links at the end, but my kind of philosophy around that. Okay, so why do we test? So I have kind of a story that that I want to share. Actually, I have some notes that I wrote down about this. So at one of my previous gigs, they, with regards to end to end, we had a good amount of integration tests, and a decent amount of unit tests, but there was still a long way to go actually with that. And the usual school of thought is, with the with the test triangle, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but test pyramid rather. It's you want to try to kind of have more of the lower level tests than the costly high level tests. And the team approached me as the one QA engineer on the team, and then there were maybe 8 or so front end engineers and 2 or 3 back end engineers on the team, and it was just me for QA. And they had said, okay, well, we really want end to end. We want you to tackle that on your own. And I pushed back for 3 days, back and forth, because end-to-end tests, especially UI tests, is it's a beast, and it's difficult to maintain, especially for one person. And I just didn't think that it was a good idea to have that additional overhead, especially where I'm just me. I didn't want to put it all together and then have it break. So so we went back and forth, and ultimately it came down to one word that they told me, one word that was the selling point, and that was confidence. They said, look, Mike, with our current tests, even if we have more integration tests and unit tests, they just won't give us the kind of confidence that we need, that we would get from end-to-end tests. And we really need that confidence. We need to know that when we when we get the product into users' hands, that it's actually going to work the way that we expect it, that everything back end and front end are going to kind of work together the way that we expected. So confidence is key. So what do we test? Or to put it another way, how do we know what to test, right? On multiple occasions, I've been presented with this question when the dev team had test coverage between 10 and 30%. That's, for me, in that range. For me, that's been kind of an ongoing theme. I don't know if I'm just picking the wrong teams, or they just really pick me, or what the deal is. But when you're that far behind, how do you prioritize, right? So how do we prioritize? And that's through users. It's data driven, first of all, but the data is going to be coming from your users, and it's going to be coming from your code. And using that data, we can help kind of prioritize and figure out, we have all these tests that we need to write. Where do we start? How do we prioritize? So, with users, you're going to have a lot of data, like, what parts of the product are users using? What defects are found in production? Bugs that are found by users, who are, maybe your QA team, right? Because you're not doing enough on internally. And then, of course, the code can tell you too, right? The code has data, like the coverage tools themselves, that they can they can help identify entire components, or even code paths that you're not hitting. And that combined, you can say, okay, well, we have this part of the product that's core to our business, and according to our code coverage, we see that these components aren't being covered, and then you could put priority into those things. So how do we test? So first thing we need to talk about is types of tests, right? And some of us may have an idea of this, and know about this, and you might even have different definitions. These are my definitions. I think that they're pretty widely accepted, but depending on the framework that you use or the company that you're in and culture and things like that, you might they might go by different names, but for the most part, they pretty much work this way. So starting with the unit test, so that's the smallest bit, right? It's the fastest, it's the least expensive, meaning it requires the least amount of maintenance and resources to run. Way I think about unit tests is from like a function, service, or class level. Integration tests, those are going to usually involve multiple pieces of the application. There's going to be some mocking involved, so you might not use for an integration test, you might not use a real backend, or you might not use all services. You might have maybe 2 components or services and mock the rest. It's compared to end-to-end, these are going to be still a lot faster. And I consider like component tests or component level tests to kind of fit into this category. And the next thing is end-to-end. So with end-to-end tests, that's kind of the Cypress sweet spot, and it's kind of encompasses the whole beast, right? The whole tuna. It's the slowest. It's the most expensive because you're running the entire application a lot of times, especially if it's true end to end. And it can also be flaky and require some additional maintenance, right, to keep things running. And I consider these kind of user level tests. And then the last, so more specifically, when I say user level tests, I mean you're testing from the user's perspective. And then lastly, static analysis. So with static analysis, basically, that's like your linting tools. I use ESLint. I love it. Also, TypeScript does a little bit of this static analysis as well, and it can check your code for errors. And I think that it is kind of an unsung hero. I don't think it's necessarily thought of in both QA and dev teams and regarded as testing, but I think it does have a lot of impact on the quality, especially if you have your code analyzed and essentially doing some of the things that maybe you might do in a code review or you might correct in a code review, and then now you're able to spend that additional time on other things, which help with the overall quality of the application. These are some kind of example titles to help kind of further bring home that point as far as what these tests do. So if I were to write a unit test, the title or summary of that unit test would be add function return sum of 2 values. For an integration test, I might test like a general list component, say, and test that it can be sorted. And with end to end, because I'm testing from the user point of view, I want to test that the user can search for an item, for example. Now, if the user does a search, right, and that search returns results, a list of results, and that list of results uses the list component, which is also used in other parts of the product, we want to make sure that we're using the right types of tests to make these assertions, because what we want to ensure essentially is that if I have a component that's used in 5 different places, and I make that assertion in every implementation of that component, like in the search and and in other places of the application. Now I'm writing kind of the same test and over and over. So I'm duplicating effort, but because I'm writing it also at the end-to-end level, I'm also adding additional costs that might not be necessary. And this is something that I often see when I'm doing reviews of end-to-end tests. Looking for ways of kind of pushing assertions down the test pyramid, if you will. Okay, so this is kind of what I mean by test pyramid. Now, I've said before, if you guys have seen me present before, you've probably seen this slide, and I've said, I've said before that this, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this test pyramid in general. And that's just because I see this slide everywhere. Anytime I watch like a presentation or webinar with regards to testing, it's just, it's sung like gospel. And, when in reality, it's kind of misleading. It can be misleading when they say that, you should have a lot of unit tests and maybe fewer, they call them service integration. That's another problem too, is the different names that can cause confusion. So the less integration tests and even less UI tests. But really, everyone's situation is different. And like I said before, I kind of pushed back on previously. I pushed back on thanks Cody for subscribing. I kind of pushed back on that on that end to end, because I thought, it's slow and it's too expensive. I don't think it's worth it. But coming back though, I on the flip side, I love this particular pyramid, in particular, this visual, because it has these two bits on the side, and it illustrates that there is a cost associated at each level, and this should be perhaps a general guide, but it's certainly not the end all solution. You just have to be aware that as you traverse up this pyramid, that there's going to be additional, overall anyway, there's going to be additional, costs, penalty, associated with that. But, at the same time, you're also going to get a lot more confidence, right? Here's an alternative, the testing trophy. I really like this alternative if I was to pick one. All the credit goes to KCD on that. KentCDodds.com. Definitely check him out. And he has a course, testingjavascript.com, which is awesome. And you can read more about the testing trophy there. This one is also one that I ripped from someone else. This happens to be Gleb Bakhmutov from the Cypress team, actually, and this is great because it illustrates that we should be testing as early as possible. You may have heard the term shift left. This is kind of the same thing. The further along the development cycle that you go, the more expensive it is to test and to fix problems. I like this because it clearly illustrates this point. And as you're going to see soon, as I kind of demonstrate Cypress, that they help to kind of solve this problem by building a tool that allows you to start writing these tests, start working on these tests earlier on in the development cycle. So it kind of helps to support that. Who writes and maintains tests? So, this has always been a debate everywhere I've been, and it's not really a cut and dry. Whether it should whether it be like who should be fixing the tests when it breaks versus, who's actually writing them from the get-go. I'm not going to say who should be primarily, but for sure both teams should be involved, to some degree, in the process when it comes to automated tests. It depends on the needs and of the business and the competency of the team members and their experience and even team culture too. So there's a lot of different variables there. Writing tests is hard and it's time consuming, right? So it's not an easy decision. It's not easy to manage the change if there's a culture change that has to happen. That's challenging, and of course, you have to deliver a product, but you also have to spend time building and maintaining tests. So it's not an easy decision as far as where those resources are going to come from. Developers don't want to do it sometimes, right? QA engineers, usually can't keep up with that kind of thing on their own. So I think that load has to be shared, especially when it comes to end to end. I shared my thoughts on that earlier. Let me try. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try to do a poll here. I'm gonna add a question. I don't even know if this is gonna work. I'm totally winging it, guys. I'm gonna say, actually, I'm gonna have two things. So let's see, poll. I'm gonna say my question is, do you use Cypress at work? Or do you plan to? I'm gonna put that in there and then and then I'll put a couple of answers. So, yes, I use it. No, I don't. I plan to use it. Yeah, we'll add that. And then the other question I wanted to ask is with this. So, who should write and maintain tests? Well, let's see. Yeah, who should write and maintain tests? Developers, QA, or both about equally. And then I'll add that as well. And then I have no idea how to add that to I don't even know where it fits. Let's see. Dimitri, yeah, all tests, yes, all tests. I mean, tests well, okay, all right. Let's say that it's like if you had Cypress, who would be writing those tests? So end to end tests. How the heck do I add this poll to? I don't know if let's see. I did add question, but it didn't go anywhere. Oh darn. I don't know if I did this right, guys. Sorry. Oh, there was a save button. It was just off my screen. That was my problem. All right. Improvisation. All right. Okay. Using it. Use it. And I know this is like just for me. But I think some of you might be curious about, what's happening in our class here as far as who's doing what, and what everybody's opinion is. So let's see, and then who should write UI tests, and then it's let's see, devs, QA, both equally. Add question. Okay, now I'll do save. What the crap? Okay, delete. Okay, save. Here we go. Okay, awesome. Launch poll. Okay, I'm gonna do launch poll. All right, so it I don't know. Yeah, it's a poll in Zoom, Jason. Thanks. Okay, cool. And obviously you guys are seeing it because there's responses there. All right, awesome. So cool. Maybe during the break I'll highlight that and share that if it's not public. Anyway, thanks guys for for uh, enlightening me. Okay, so Cypress Cons. Let me get my bearings here. I think I got that last point. Okay, Cypress Cons. So yeah, bad stuff. So it's JavaScript only. I think for the most part, especially if you're on a team that's focused on UI and you're using a popular framework like React. This really isn't a problem, but for some it's an issue, especially if maybe you're used to using Python. I know Python's really popular. I love Python. I wish I could get into it, but I'm already trying to master JavaScript. But yeah, that's obviously a con, and no IE support. I know in big enterprise, if you have a consumer application that needs to have support, especially in third world countries, I guess, no IE support, no Safari or Opera. I think Safari is probably the biggest con in those. Firefox and Edge was an issue, but now isn't. I think it was about February they got full support for that, so that's fun. There's no native mobile support. I've mentioned this before. It's if you have a mobile app and you need to test, I suppose like like the hardware, maybe like location or camera or something like that. I think that's where that might be a problem. But those kinds of tests can also be written in other libraries. So it's I don't know. I think it's kind of it depends on the application that you're testing, but I don't think it's too bad. I haven't really run into that problem before, but I'd love to hear your guys's experience and feedback on that. Some features require Moolah from the boss man. There is a dashboard that's a paid service. It comes with all this like analytics and parallel testing and things like that. I've actually previously, I didn't really use that in the last workshop and in other presentations. I haven't really talked about it because I didn't have any experience with it. In the gig that I have now, they pay for it, and I've been using it, and it's actually been improving a lot, especially most recently. They I think within the last month they released some new features with the dashboard. So so I think it's worth paying for. Obviously, your mileage may vary, but if you have a penny pincher for a boss or it's hard to get approval for things like that, then you might not be able to take advantage of it. It's not the end of the world, but then again, it's also kind of cool. And we'll definitely be talking about that in a future session. Plugins or workarounds are required sometimes for things like if you want to work with multiple browser tabs or windows. If you're dealing with iframes, that's kind of a difficult thing. I've actually worked with iframes. I haven't had a problem. So the limitations haven't really been an issue for me. But you might have a different experience. Cross-domain navigation, meaning you're not going to be able to navigate to a different application, than the one that you're testing. I haven't really had a problem with that, but yeah, there's that, and then native event support. So there's things like hover. Yeah, Dimitri, can't wait to see the pros now. There'll be plenty. If there weren't enough, I wouldn't be talking about it, right? So yeah, last workshop, I kind of got in a snag because I said, okay, let's test this by hovering, and it was like a take-home challenge, and then not realizing that there was a limitation on the hover, and then of course, I got all these complaints. I can't hover. I don't know how I'm supposed to do it, and I realized I didn't do the challenge myself. I should have tried it and to see that you can't actually do that. Anyway, it's not the end of the world. You can actually use like mouse over. You can trigger a mouse over event, for example. There's workarounds for that. And lastly, it's not a silver bullet. One of the things that some people might say about Cypress is things like, oh, it's better than this thing or that, like Selenium or WebDriver or Test Cafe or whatever, and your tests are going to be flake free and they're going to be fast and all this other stuff, and testing is going to be easy and all this. You have to be realistic. I think it's important to have that expectation that it's not going to make all your dreams come true. It is an awesome product, that's for sure. I mean, that's why I've been using it for the last 2-3, not 3 because it hasn't been out for 3 years, but 2 or more years I've been using this I've been using this product, and I love it, and I've been speaking about it obviously and teaching and stuff. But at the same time, I think it's important to have realistic expectations with it. All right, pros. Clean, intuitive, chainable API. It's super easy to write tests. We'll get into all these things. Command retries. Commands fail, things get flaky. It retries things for you automatically. We'll talk about that too. Resource stubbing. So, faking API responses, you can do that. You can time travel. You can essentially see what had happened in the test line by line. Easy debugging. I know sometimes when you have a problem with a test, as everybody does, it's really difficult to kind of figure out what the problem is, where the problem's coming from, and you got to do all kinds of gymnastics to get it to figure it out. And Cypress makes it easy to do that. It's extendable with plugins, of course. That's awesome. There's so much more. We'll get into it. Clean, intuitive, chainable API. If you guys are familiar with Nightwatch or WebDriver IO, those are kind of similar to this. I've used those before, and I like them. I think they're great because they're super easy to read and write, of course. So when you can write a test, and the way that you write it, how should I explain this? It's readable, so it reads like plain English basically. And when you have a test that's very kind of expressive or declarative, it just makes it more fun to write tests and to read them. When you look at a test and you have no idea what the heck it does, because it's super convoluted, um, then it makes it kind of a pain. It creates a lot of friction, and so if you want people to be writing more tests, that's going to be a problem for you. So by having a clean, intuitive API, you can not only more easily write a test, but you can also read the test and know what the heck's going on, especially if you didn't write it, which that can happen too, right? You want to be able to know. So having a kind of a declarative syntax is super helpful. So yeah, tests, like I said before, tests read kind of naturally. Cypress is like a real user. We're visiting a page, we're getting something and clicking on it. We're making sure that the URL includes some path. Intellisense is awesome. This is a testimony to the team's priorities when it comes to usability of this platform, of this library. It has not only a super intuitive API, but by being able to type sci dot and then have all of your methods available to you, makes writing super easy. And then on top of it all, when you do sci dot and then you have your command, you can hover over it and it gives you kind of the information that you might need to use it, but then it also gives you a link inside of that, so you can click on it and that takes you to the documentation. So it's slick. It's super slick, and because of this, you don't have to get out of the context of your editor. So what makes Cypress so special? It's compared to Selenium. They're fundamentally and architecturally different, though. So it's not based on Selenium. It doesn't even, under the hood, it doesn't even work the same way as Selenium. And as a result, you can write faster and easier and more reliable tests. And it runs inside of it runs rather in the same run loop as your application, and you have control over your application while the tests are running, and you have access to the browser. So just like if you were to say you were to open your application and go to DevTools, and in DevTools you can access like the application store, for example, which a lot of libraries, like React and Ember and so forth, and Angular, you can access the application itself through DevTools and debug and so forth. And this allows you to do all those things that you can do inside of a browser programmatically, but it also has access to another environment outside of that in Node. So you can run any kind of Node scripts, like for seeding your database and things like that. So there's a lot of power that comes with that. You can take screenshots, you can record videos. That's super helpful. You can connect it with Percy and API. What is it called? Applitools. Yeah, Applitools, and do visual testing. You could perform network operations. So you have kind of control over the network layer. So all of the API calls, all the traffic, you have control and visibility into. Native access. So Cypress operates within the application, like I said. So you have access to all that, blah, blah, blah. Moving on. Lots of stuff here. Let me see. I don't want to read all of this, but but the biggest thing I would say is giving you the ability to take shortcuts and doing things programmatically. I mentioned before that that end-to-end tests are it can be flaky and unreliable, and so it's important to try to actually avoid. It sounds funny, but you want to try to avoid the UI as much as possible when you're testing the UI, meaning that you want to try to when it comes to writing an end-to-end test or a UI test, you want to make sure that you're only interacting with the application through the UI for just the test portion. I'll give you an example. So if you're going to test the login, of course you want to go to like the login page and put in the username and password, submit, and make some assertions, right? But let's just say that after logging in, I want to make sure that I want to change a setting on my profile, right? In the test, we don't want to be logging in to the application first through the UI, and then and then updating the profile as the user would. We can actually, because we're already testing that, we already know that the login works. So you can go through either the application itself by modifying a token, or going through the API, getting a token and storing it that way. Whatever the case may be, you can do it that way, circumventing the UI. And then when you're actually, and that can be in a before each hook, so that's before the test or outside of the test. And then in the test itself, of course, we want to actually test the thing that we're wanting to test, right? Like in the case of the example with changing a making a change to my account or whatever, right?
Mike, sorry, the slide is not visible actually in the background. Yeah, it's visible now. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry. I didn't realize that me moving it, I kind of moved it slightly off the page, but anyway. Okay. So, so with the Cypress commands in tests, the way that it's architected is in such a way that the code itself is asynchronous, but when the commands actually run, they run in the right order. And what that basically gives you is the ability to then retry. So essentially, you kind of have a queue of these commands, and in the queue of commands, each one is run. But then if you run into a problem where, let's just say you visit and you click on an element and that takes you to a page, but when you go to actually assert that you're on the right page, you're not on the right page yet. In other words, it's before that URL has even changed, right? Well, what Cypress does is it actually goes back and tries again. And it continues to go into that loop until some timeout or until it passes. And that's unlike other tools. That's why it's well, special. And through time travel, you can run your tests in a visual runner, like you can see here. And with each command, you can actually hover over it And Cypress has taken a snapshot of the DOM at each stage. So in this example here, we're hovering over the command, and it's showing that that DOM snapshot on the right. And especially when things go wrong, that can be really helpful. And if you want to really know what a test is doing, you can run a test and step through one command at a time. And then, yeah, like I was saying, with you know, when you run into a problem, being able to time travel is helpful for debugging. So let's just say, for example, you visit and you know, your application, and you do an assertion, and that you know, assertion fails for some reason. Maybe something changed, and you need to update it. Well, you can go run the failed test, go to the specific command that failed, and then once you've identified, you know, where the failure is, and then, you know, you can go into your code, you know, make the changes, rerun it. It when you save, it actually runs it automatically, and then and then you know, try it. And sometimes it's a loop, you know, you have to keep kind of playing with it, but being able to have kind of the code and then the runner at side by side is it contributes to a good kind of workflow. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying before about shifting left. If you have a product that allows you to kind of write your tests and debug and kind of fix as you're coding, it makes it that much easier to start, you know, maybe not pure TDD, but even just getting closer to writing your tests around the same time, you know, as you're writing the application code. All right, so demo time. This is always like super nerve-wracking because anything could go wrong, and it usually does. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to try to pull up, let's see, I'll bring up my instance of VS Code here. Let's see, where are we? Is that it? Yeah, that's the right one. Okay. Okay, cool. So now let's make sure. Yep, there we go. Okay. And I will kind of, there we go. Okay, cool. So, all right, so what I've got going on here is I have, let me just close this. And, all right. So what I've got is I have a to-do MVC app. And let me see, and if I do npm start, now it runs this, and I can follow that link. Hang on, I'll share what I'm seeing here. Let's see. There we go. All right, so now I have my to-do MVC. So this is running on localhost, and I can do all kinds of stuff. That's my app. Can add to do. I can delete a to do. I can mark one off. I can look at my completed or my active, and so forth. So I've got my application. So that's running. Now let's see. I forgot to delete it. So I'm just going to delete this. Okay, we'll pretend I didn't have that. Crap, I canceled the wrong thing. All right, this one. So now I have no Cypress. If I want to do, if I want to install it, I just do npm install Cypress -- save dev. And just a reminder, this is not the hands-on portion. We'll be taking a break before we get into that, so you don't have to worry about, kind of keeping up with this. This is just a demo. And okay, so now I've done that, and I should, let's see, if I do npx Cypress open, and I can lickety split, just start. I have some examples, and I can start running those. And if I want, I'll just undo all this. And then, let's just assume that I, through the magic of television, I have a test. And then let me just share this. So my tests are running. I'll show you the actual. Let's see. Nope, wrong one. This one. Yeah, this one. There we go. So now it actually has the tests, and I can just run through all of these and just restart it. Let's see. It looks like it's frozen on that side. I don't love the way that's presenting here. Let's see if I can do this another way. Oh, maybe it is showing it. It's just a little slow. Okay. All right. Yeah. So now in the editor, in the runner rather, we have all of the to-do tests. And let me actually, okay, they're finished. So now I can show you, okay, so we have this before each, where we're visiting the application, and then we have this get and go to a type into this field, and then we assert that we have that list. We have two to-dos in there. And then if I just click on this, I can actually pin it down, and it highlights here. So it shows me, exactly what it is that that was found, the result of that query for new to do. And this before and after here, this is actually really cool, because now I can say, okay, before I did the type, that's what it looked like. Afterwards, that's what it looked like. Typing and pressing enter rather. And then on this one, there's the before, there's the after. And then, getting the whole list and making the assertion. That's it. I think that's all we can show on that. So yeah, so it's super easy to install and to get running. Um, and like I mentioned before, like the syntax is declarative, so they're easy to read as well. And I mentioned that npm install save dev, or if you're using Yarn, you can use that as well. That's it. So I think I think this is, well, we're getting pretty good time if we assume it's 2 hours or a little less. So I think now's a good time to kind of break, and I'll catch up with the chat, answer any questions that you have, and maybe 5 minutes, maybe a little more, depending. And then when we get back, we'll get to the hands-on part, and I'll present you guys with a take-home challenge. Maybe if there's time, we'll do some Q&A, and then I'll kind of give you guys some links for resources and other things to take you to until the next week. So yeah, so it's 8:12. So why don't we say 8:20? So it's 8 minutes. Yeah, let's do 8:20. So we'll start back up again if you guys need a break, and I'll look at these questions. Matter of fact, what I'm going to do is see if I can adjust the lighting in here so you guys can see me better. There we go. Okay, so Dwayne says, I'm looking forward to learning how to leverage Cypress as a great tool to write the automation, valuable automation, as well as how to have the automation run against a wide range of browsers by sending it to another tool, hopefully. Thanks, Dwayne. I know Dwayne. Good to have you here. So yeah, as a matter of fact, Applitools, with Applitools integration, you can send Cypress tests over. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it's been a while. But what you can do is you can send that to Applitools, and then it just runs through those tests on different visual tests through different browsers. So yeah, if you want like visual testing and trying different browsers, that's Applitools might be something to look into. I'm a QA lead at AppGuard, leading Windows side. This is Dimitri. QA lead AppGuard, leading Windows side application QA, so not as involved in web, but still find it fun. No experience with Cypress, some limited experience Selenium plus Java. My main programming language is Java, but I'm familiar with Python, Java, PHP, and so on. Thanks, Dimitri. Penny, hi Penny. She says, hi all, I'm Penny Howard, QA lead for Flex. I was online for a few of Mike's earlier Cypress sessions. I joined today because I'm starting a Cypress PLC for my company. Awesome, awesome, cool. Well, I'm happy for you, and so I hope that this will be helpful for you and the community in general. Will be a good resource for you. Michael Cortez. My name is Michael. I don't currently work for a company and actively seeking web development opportunity. Awesome, cool. So this is a good networking opportunity for you. I want to use Cypress to improve my applications and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. Cool. Max. Hi, my name is Max, recent bootcamp graduate. Cool. Felt like a big hole in my full stack knowledge was testing. yeah, that's pretty common, especially, yeah, there's a lot of boot camps that um, curriculums that don't include any testing or just enough testing. So that's awesome that you see that. So I'm here to learn more. I also recently interviewed for a QA internship for an Alexa thermostat app. That's cool. IoT is, I used to work for alarm.com. So I'm totally with you on that. That's a good place to be. Cody Carling, thanks. Workfront, software developer, engineer, and test. Cool. Currently using Python to write end-to-end. I work on a front-end focused team that writes in React. I want to learn another way to test to level up. Also allow my developers to take part in end-to-end testing. I have very little experience with Cypress. I've taken a beginning programming class in JavaScript about 2 years ago. I'm excited to learn. Awesome, yeah. I'm hoping to try to squeeze in a little bit of JavaScript uh, as well, just as you guys need it. So if there's something that you want me to kind of expound on, I can either have like another session to focus on that, or I can, if it's not too much, maybe I can squeeze it into a session. So definitely let's keep the dialogue and feedback going. Cool. Savannah. Hi, I'm Savannah. SDAT at a small startup company based in San Francisco. Our engineers are mostly here in SLC. Previously worked in a C sharp shop. Try to say that 3 times fast. And there I built from the ground up my team's backend integration tests. This job I'm at now, they're having me focus on front-end automation using Cypress and JavaScript. I'm feeling fairly confident with working with Cypress, cool, but I know that I don't know everything, and I'm excited to fill in the gaps. Well, Savannah, I don't, I don't know everything either, but that's good that you acknowledge that, and I hope we can learn together. Trevor Allen. Hi, I'm a QA automation engineer at Inside Real Estate. I did some Cypress at Instructure before they axed everybody. Yeah, I know people that were in that same reduction in force. So I get that. I'm excited to learn more as we want to do some front-end automation. Awesome, cool. Hey, I'm Rajan, and I work as a QA engineer for a healthcare client based in Salt Lake City. Currently use Spock. I currently use Groovy, Geb, and Spock for automation. Not too familiar with those. Groovy sounds familiar, but I also did a small release writing end-to-end tests using Cypress and would like to learn more on how to architect a whole test framework using Cypress. Cool. Yeah, this is the place to be if you want to do that. I'm Valerie, and I'm a QA engineer focusing on automation using WebDriver. I can run Hello World in multiple languages and frameworks. That's cool. As an intern a year ago, I helped set up initial automation at my company. But now that we have been at it and know a little more, we're thinking of switching to something else like Cypress. Awesome. That's cool. Keep going. Keep learning. That's great. We've got a lot of people here that are passionate about that, and so am I. So that's great. A lot of familiar faces. Let's see. The poll. So I don't know if this poll is public, but I'll just share it anyway. Using Cypress, so 31% are using, 4 people are using Cypress, 23% are not, and 46%, 6 people are planning to use it. That's cool. Who should write UI tests? So nobody said devs. That's interesting. QA, 5 of you, 38% said QA, and both equally, eight of you. So 60% say both equally. The other 40 say QA, and none of you say dev. So that's cool. Thank you for filling in that poll. Awesome. let's see. Avoiding the UI, you're losing user perspective. Yeah, that's definitely true. What if so you need to do that obviously judiciously. What if devs broke the login process in the last change? Yep. So that's why we have multiple. So I think I remember this was probably when I was talking about only interacting with the UI for the test itself, not necessarily the setup or the the setup of the test. So like in the case of login, you know, if they broke the login process, then that login test would fail only. And that's kind of nice too, because now you know, okay, the login's broken, so only the login test failed. You know, as far as from a front end perspective, if the other tests don't rely on the front end, then they can still pass if you're not going through the UI, right? And you know, it doesn't just like wipe out your whole you know, suite of tests because you're not going through the UI. In addition to, you know, not taking as much time, you know, you have faster, more reliable tests as a result of not going through the UI everywhere. Let's see. So Jason says you test it once, then every other time you have to use the same UI. You shortcut it, so zero code coverage loss. Cypress is huge on this idea. So when it shortcuts, will it catch the regression bugs in the process that we've shortcutted? I think we've answered that. So I would suggest watching this video. Cool. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Jason. Let's see, after you test the login, you should have full coverage and confidence that's working. There are always many other pages and functions behind your authentication layer. Brian Mann explains that in the video. Cool. Let's see. And then I totally failed to show the runner, but I think I did eventually. Let's see. Dwayne said it will take the screenshots and show them on different browsers, but it doesn't actually run the test. Okay, I get that. Okay, I get that. Okay. Good to know. So let's see, I want to say thanks to Mike for this presentation. Really nice peek into technology. Got to run. Thanks, Dimitri. Glad to have you. Checking out the recording later. Okay, cool. Jason says I'm a Cypress enthusiast. I'm between jobs and looking to do a presentation next Tuesday. Cool. Awesome. What I feel the most significant and exciting aspects of Cypress. Cool. I'll definitely be there. Awesome. Cool. All right. We actually took a little longer. I actually took a little longer to go through that. It's 8:23, so I think we can get back on track here. So let's see. All right. So we'll do the hands-on. So with the hands-on, I was really excited about this real-world app coming out. Cypress, they put it together and made a big announcement, and I was glad because I didn't really love using to do MVC. I felt like, you know, although it's an easy application to test and to demo, at the same time, it doesn't really give us the ability to kind of test more real world real world applications, but, you know, real world usage of Cypress. And so, you know, I think it was okay, but for the workshop and for the basics. But I think if we really want to get into more complex or advanced topics, I think starting with the real world app is going to be beneficial. So I was really glad that they came up with that. Just some like bullet points. It's a React app. has Express, and they use this low DB to essentially host like a JSON database, essentially, stand up a database, and then they use Material UI and TypeScript. So because they use that low DB, you don't have like a database dependency. You don't have to like spin up a MySQL server or something like that. So that's kind of cool. And you can authenticate locally, and you can seed a database. And of course, there's no end-to-end tests. I deleted them all. Ha ha ha. So so we'll be working with a fork of this app, and what I did was I wiped out all the Cypress stuff so that we can essentially work with it as if we're just starting from scratch. So some of you that know how to use Git, don't don't go into the original repo and cheat. But if you have to, you can. Okay. So it's a payment application. So I started a blog of sorts. I actually own this domain, iheartjs.dev, and I've got this page, day 0, for all the stuff for today. So it's all the instructions, and so you'll be able to kind of, without me having to share all the slides and everything, which I can still share the slides, but you'll have all the instructions, everything that we go through tonight, in the next, probably half hour. It'll all be on that page. It'll always be there. And of course, the take-home challenge and stuff will all be there. And as we go through these, I'll create, new pages for that. So it's a blog of sorts, and I'll, be building on that, but it's a start. So let's, I'll actually just head right over there and share that as we go through. Let's see. Let's bring up. Okay. So let me share this whole page. Okay, did I do it? Yep. Okay. All right, cool. So if you guys go to iheartjs.dev/day0, day-0, you'll get here. And so like I mentioned, this is a special fork of Cypress Real World app, which normally comes with Cypress tests. I deleted them all, and I created a day 0 branch, and that day 0 branch essentially is specifically for this lesson. So what you want to do is, let me increase the size here. So what you guys want to do is go on terminal. You can go in VS Code. That's what I'm doing, and follow through this. So what you're going to do is you're going to clone that repo, and then cd into that directory, and then you want to open it up. So you can use code dot in the terminal, and it opens up all the files, or you can just open it up however you want. Do git checkout day 0, so that'll get you the specific branch that we want to be working off of. Then do an npm install, npm start, and then that will get you the application. So I'm going to go ahead and walk through that part. and you guys can kind of follow along. Let's see, let me bring up. Pull up the my VS Code here. I'm getting there. Let's see. I've got too many things open. Here we go. All right, cool. All right. So let me close some of this extra stuff. Okay. Let's just do that. All right. So now I am, why do I have that? Why do I have that folder? I should not have that folder. Okay. Let's see. Oh, maybe. Well, you guys need time to go through the instructions anyway, but let's see. Let's see. Okay. I'm on that branch. Why do I have this? Because I'm not tracking it. I don't know why. Okay, you should not have that, but anyway, we're in a clean state. So let me actually, you know what? I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to start a new window as if I've never done this before. So that way you guys can follow along from the very, very, very beginning. So I'm going to say, let's see, I'm going to go to terminal and go to a new terminal. And I'm going to say, I'm going to make a directory and I'll call it WS day 0, workshop day 0. And I'll go to that. And then I'll do git clone. Where is it? Let's see. I'll just copy this, just like you guys will do. Git clone. Yep. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to cd into that. So cd Cypress real world app. So now I'm in the app, and then I can do code dot, and that opens up everything inside of VS Code. There might be some setup that you guys need to do that. I don't remember if I had to do something to get that magic to work, but anyway, I've got it all open here. There's longer ways to accomplish that same thing. So now let me open the terminal in here. So now I've got my real world app. I've got the, I'm in the develop branch. So now I need to switch branches. I can go to origin day 0 like that, but I'll just go through like I said here, like I showed this way through the terminal. I'll do git checkout day 0. So now I'm switched to that. Let's see. Okay, cool. So now I'm all right. So now I'm here. I've got the right thingy, and I'm going to do npm install. And those of you that might be observant, you might notice that this repo uses yarn while I am using npm. I have reasons for that. We can talk about it after if you're curious, but for now, pay no attention to that. Okay, so we're doing an npm install, and then after we'll do an npm start, and that essentially starts us up. If you guys don't have Node version 12, you might need to upgrade to that. In the original repo, it says you need it. I don't think it'll be a problem, but if it is, keep that in mind. That you might need to upgrade to version 12. If you guys need help with that, I can certainly help. Let's see. No Xcode. What is this? I didn't come up with that problem before. See what I'm saying? There's always problems when you're doing live stuff like this. Oh, we'll have to see what this comes up with. Okay. So I'm going to assume safely that there's nothing to worry about with that. In fact, you know what? Just for the heck of it, I'm going to run npm install again, just to be absolutely sure. And then we'll run npm start, and it should be fine. If you got warnings, you don't have to worry about those. Okay, so second time around, I didn't run into that problem. I'm going to do npm start. Okay, so now I've got a new window that came up. Localhost 3000, and it's still starting it up. Wait for it. Eventually. Watch it fail. I swear this worked earlier, guys. That took forever. Okay, well, we're good. Okay, so it did run. We're in our app. So now we have our app. Let's go back to my instructions here. So if all goes well, you should be directed to localhost 3000, which we did. And if you want, you can try logging in. So there's a username and password right here. It's nothing secret. No pun intended. Secret. Did I type that right? Yep. And then you can log in and play around if you want. We're not going to do that now. So with the app and editor now set up, what I want you guys to think of, what I'm thinking of right now is I'm, or rather imagining, is that I've started a new job, a new role, and I'm treating it like, this is my app. This is the app that I need to, that I've been tasked with testing. I've got kind of a fresh start and no Cypress tests in sight. So now I've got to am I on the wrong page? I'm in the right one. Right? Yeah. Okay. So I've got to get it set up, right? So now let's see. So now we just need to do what I did before, which was npm install Cypress -- save dev. So I'll just copy that. If you want, you can leave this open I know in VS Code you can do this and keep that and run it. I'm just gonna kill this though. I don't really need to have it running for right now. I can always restart it later. So I'm gonna do npm install save dev and install Cypress for the first time. As far as we're concerned, to this real world app. And then once that's done, it takes a little bit to download the binary and such. Then I'm going to do npx open. All right, so now I'll do npx Cypress open. And if you get this missing base URL in compiler options thing, you can ignore that for now. And then you should get this. Let me go back to my thing here. So I did mention the warning you can ignore. And so you should see a window that looks like this. So now I've got my app going, and now I have Cypress going, and I'm at a point where now I have so Cypress sets you up with the the kind of the basic structure, and in the integration folder are some example tests. And whoops, what did I do? So now if I go here, so I've got all these example tests. So I can run this one, this first one here. What's up with that? Let me try this again. Oh, I think I botched that. Sorry, let's try it again. Whoops. Okay, here we go. Try this one more time. There we go. All right, so now we can see these are the example tests. These are the example tests that come with all first time installations. It's not the example tests that are part of this the repo that I forked from Cypress. I hope that makes sense. So kind of a similar thing with the with the to-do app that you can see here with the application on the right, and hovering over shows you the DOM snapshot and so forth. Now, we're not, testing that. We're testing, the real world app. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and create our first test. So we'll do new file, and we'll call it login.spec.js. And if you guys need to follow along later, it'll be, let's see. Okay, we went through all that. So writing our first test, so I'm going through this. So in Cypress integrations, create a new file, login spec.js, and open it. So we're going to do that. If you guys get this, you can just do allow. That's fine. Okay, so we'll do describe. This is, by the way, Mocha syntax. I put a link in there if you guys are interested in how Mocha works, but that's where the describe comes from. Describe, login. You know what? I'm feeling lazy, so I'm going to do this. I'm just going to copy and paste. You guys should not do this, right? We should never copy and paste code. Okay, so this little guy up here is just to resolve the errors that come up because we have to set up, it's basically to circumvent this cannot find name sci that's coming from TypeScript. I'll explain that another day. So that's just a workaround there. So the describe, we're logging in and we're going to log in for the test. We want to log in with the username and password to this to the application. So to kind of get us started, we're just going to do site.visit. It's just, you know, bare bones. We need to do something. We need to start somewhere, right? So we're going to start with you know, actually getting to the page. Okay, so I'm going to save this. And now that I've saved that, now I should be able to go back here and under the examples, now you see there's a new login spec. So we can click on that. Whoopsies. What happened? What did I do? I didn't start the application. So we need to do that. So let me go. Okay, so first of all, let me get rid of this guy. Okay, so here's my Cypress. I've got to start the app. So I'm going to do npm start the app. Okay. And I don't actually need to keep it open in the browser, but this tells me that it's, yeah, it's running. So I'm going to restart this. There's also a little restart button over here too. You can press that to restart test. Okay, so it's passing, right? Now, you know, we're not really making many assertions, but but it's a start. So now we visited the page. So now what would we want to do? We want to log in, right? So we have to kind of break it down into steps. So sometimes what I'll do is when I'm writing tests is I'll kind of, you know, maybe write a little like comments or pseudocode, especially when it's, you know, a more complex test than this. So we're going to want to do what? We're going to want to fill username field. Okay, field. And then we'll need to fill the password field. And then we'll have to click on the sign in button. Click on the sign in button. Okay, so we want to do those three things. And then maybe we want to make an assertion. Assert that it worked. And we can decide that later. So another thing I like to do too is I like to kind of follow through what I'm going to automate in a manual fashion, especially if I'm not super familiar with the application and the process, but I like to kind of know exactly what's going on. So one of the things I'll do is I'll kind of open up the network tab and filter by XHR. These are all typically going to be your API requests that are being made, because I like to know what's going on in that regard too. So I've already saved the username, and then password is S3CRET. And I'm going to click sign in. And so what I know here and here too is that when I go to sign in, there are some XHR requests happening. Doesn't look like there are any errors, so it looks good. So right off the bat, when I log in, I know that we're going to be making a post request to log in, and then we're going to be getting a few things, bank account, and so forth. And it looks like the URL doesn't change, but I think that's kind of my own fault. I think what we really should do is go to that page that ultimately we're kind of getting redirected to. This might make sense in just a second. Let me go to log out. Yeah, it's called sign in. So I think really what we should be doing is we should be doing sign in. This is an afterthought, guys. Sorry. This is what you're paying for. Okay, so sign in. So now we visit the sign in page, and then when we log in, okay, now it goes to essentially home, right? So I think that's, another kind of thinking out loud, that's probably something that I'd want to assert is that, not that I visited the sign in page, because that's really just testing that the visit command works. That's not really necessary. At least I don't think so. And so we're going to, we can assert that this URL is, just slash or home or whatever. That's one thing. And then maybe on the actual UI itself, we could assert some stuff here. Let's go back to kind of running out of time. So let's go back to here. So now we've got, so we talked about that. You guys may need the prettier extension if you're using VS Code. Just keep that in mind. If you're getting errors like what we saw with that missing. So just keep that in mind. So talked about this. So Cypress has incredible documentation. I've got links here. It has an API. Why don't you just go there? So it has this. It has all of the commands that are, every possible command in there. And then actually, let me go back to that. And then within each one, like on click, it has all this extra detail if you want to really get into the nitty gritty of that. So super cool there. But I'm not gonna. I don't think it's worth your guys' time for me to go through documents like say, okay, this is how this works, because essentially I'm just going through the documentation, right? I don't want to read this as part of I don't want to copy and paste all this stuff and present it to you. That seems kind of boring. I think if you guys wanted to figure out how to check something, you could probably go through here and figure out how the check command works. If you guys want that, we can talk about it. But I think it's it's a waste of time. There's other things we can get into, but just to kind of get you guys started, right? These are common: get, click, and type. You're going to be using get, of course, a lot. If you're familiar with jQuery, get is basically like doing $sign. In fact, even within Chrome itself, there's no jQuery, but there is the notion of $sign, where essentially it's $sign and then whatever your selector is, and then it gives you back, it returns a the specific element. So that's how get works. And then with click, basically it's also like jQuery in that you're chaining a command, this click command, off of get. So whatever the get returns is what click clicks on. Okay. And then here's how they work together. Side.get button. Let's just say that it's a button that we're clicking on. That's a button tag that we're clicking on, and so we're clicking on a button. That's how that works. Type, similar thing. Okay. So say that you have an input, so something that accepts a text, that allows you to type. You have an input and it has this class of last name. So you would do it like this: phi.get last name. That dot signifies that it's a class for the element. If it's an ID, it's a hash. If you guys want more detail on that, I can give you some links, or I can even do a whole lesson on DOM selection and even DOM strategies. So there's that. And so yeah, so just like with click, you just chain off, type, and then whatever the text is that you want to type into the element that's returned by the get. All right, take home challenge. So this is what I want you guys to do. Finish the test by filling in the username and the password, and then click on the sign in button. Then I want you to run it. So, do like Cypress, npx Cypress open. That brings you to the, to the runner. Select it, run it, make sure it passes, make sure it runs. And then try this other one, this other command, npx Cypress run instead of npx Cypress open. This will run all of the tests without the visual runner. So give that a try. And then I want you to explore the documentation. Look at what's available. If you've never been there before, I highly suggest you do that, especially if you're really serious about getting into it. Kitchen Sink app is another example app. It's one of the ones from earlier so the example tests that come with the installation, it's testing against Kitchen Sink app. So I would suggest going to that page. In fact, I'll show you what I'm talking about. If you go to Kitchen Sink, this is the app, and it actually has these. It actually has something like the document, akin to the documentation, and examples and things like that. So definitely recommend that. And then get comfortable with your own locally hosted real world app. So this is what you're going to be testing if you want to continue participating in the workshop. We're going to be testing the real world app. Get familiar with it, understand kind of what it does, maybe think about how you might test it. And I think you'll be able to get more out of it and use it as a test bed. Yeah, and that's it. So that's the take home challenge. We're at 8:58. I am going to be available, obviously, for Q&A. I'll stick around for as long as necessary, really, for answering questions and things. I hope this was helpful. I'm really glad that you guys came and the majority of you stayed, and that's cool. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good night. Thanks for your time and your feedback, and we'll see you next week. So whatever questions you have, I'll hang out. I'm gonna end. Well, no, I'll stay on with the screen share and video and stuff. I might mute for just a moment.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Oh, Jason. Yep.
I was trying to connect to the meeting on this tablet earlier and it wasn't working. Yes, it is now.
Oh, so hang on, Jason. So Penny, that warning, you can actually just ignore that. It shouldn't.
I can ignore it, and I heard
Oh.
you say that, but it's just been sitting there for like a half hour, so I'm not sure what to do with it.
Yeah. So try doing like Control C, which cancels cancels it, and then
Sure.
just try it again and
Okay.
see if it opens.
Sure. And I did do that earlier where it said, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm trying it again. The MPX Cypress open.
Yep. Let me see if
I'm just waiting for it to do its thing.
yeah. And you did.
Oh, it opened. Yep, it did
It
open.
opened. Okay, cool.
Yeah, cool.
All right, awesome.
That's all I was
Awesome.
looking
Good.
for.
I'm glad
I
it
was going,
worked.
where is
Cool.
that guy? Okay. Thanks so much,
Cool.
Mike. I enjoyed it.
Glad it worked for you.
Nice presentation.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All right,
see
Penny,
ya.
have a good night.
See you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, Jason.
Hey. You hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, do you have a question?
Video. No, I didn't really, but looks like I'll have to get another device to present on next week. In a hurry. That's one laptop I have is recently died, so unfortunately. And I don't have a work laptop. I don't have a job. But hopefully it'll be okay.
Okay.
Maybe I'll ask you a couple other questions in Slack later rather than over here, unless you want me to.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. I'll be around.
All right.
That might work better because I can barely hear you.
Oh, yeah, it's probably not a great mic on here either.